Hi, welcome back to the Teal Raven knitting podcast. Today is August 18th, 2018. Had to think about that, even though I just wrote it down literally 2 seconds ago. It's Saturday. The heat wave has broken. Everybody in California is so excited because, yay, it's only 100 degrees outside. What? Are you kidding me? 100 degrees? No, I'm used to 50 degrees. This is insanely hot. So I'm sitting in here and I'm just like in front of the fan all day long, the floor fan while I'm watching TV, just blowing straight back, my hair blowing straight back. Don't care how much electricity it uses. That fan is my friend. Things I know to be true. Mustard. It's a good thing to put in any recipe, but if you really want to bring it up a notch, find jalapeno mustard and put that in your recipes. Oh, it will make your recipe so much better. Jalapeno mustard. Speaking of which, I mentioned that I was going to do the baked bean recipe that I have that is so good. It is so simple. You take a pound of bacon. I use thick slice pepper bacon, and I just get the cheapest I can find because it doesn't have to be really fancy stuff. And I cut it, I take big, like 6 strips at a time and cut it into squares about like that. Just slice it down the middle, throw it all in a pan all at once, and fry it up. It's just stir fry it. You don't have to lay bacon in long strips to cook it. You can just stir fry long strips. Just toss them in a pan and stir fry them, and they'll come out fine. You don't need to lay them out one next to another and then flip them over like it's some sort of chemical experiment that's going to explode in your face if you don't get them lined right up against one another. Bacon is very forgiving. Saute that bacon up, or fry it up. Put it into the bottom of your Dutch oven. Then using that same bacon grease that's in there, chop up half an onion, a yellow onion, put that in the pan and cook that for about 5 minutes until it just starts to caramelize, and put that in the bottom of your pan. Then you take and get a can of kidney beans, a can of butter beans, a can of pork and beans, and a can of baked beans. Put all those in. Take a 1 cup container, 1 cup, fill it 3/4 of the way full of ketchup and the rest of the way full of dark molasses. Put that in the pot. Take the jalapeno mustard and go put a squirt in. So it's like a tablespoon, maybe a little bit more. I don't take and measure those things anymore. I just squirt them in. Do the same thing with some Worcestershire sauce, and 2/3 of a cup of brown sugar, packed. Dump that in. And let me check my recipe. I believe that is everything. Yep, that's everything. Put preheat the oven to 375 degrees and put foil on top of the baked bean container. Put it in the oven for an hour. Then take the foil off and cook it for another 10 minutes to caramelize it. I made it for lunch today. John is still eating it. He's on bowl number 2, and I can hear his spoon in the background clacking. So I suspect he'll be out in a little bit, coming for bowl number 3. I've seen people take this recipe and put, after it's already cooked, crumble up some hamburger and put it in it along with some stewed tomatoes and make it kind of like a soup, add a little water to it. But the beans itself are just terrific. This is really similar to a recipe that my brother-in-law gave me years ago, but that one is actually better than this one. But it's in a cookbook in a storage unit in Colorado, so it's not coming to my kitchen anytime soon. The recipe that I'm giving you is one that's kind of come out of my brain as a memory from what was in the cookbook back in Colorado. And I think I got everything down pretty well. It sure tastes good, so I'm going to say yes to that. Some of the stuff I've got going on here. Got this. It's magnetic. These are my cable needles for my knitting, and it fits around your wrist like a slap bracelet. So while you're knitting, I don't normally wear my watch, but while you're knitting and you have to use cables, you just clock it back on. Or you can put metal stitch markers on there, you can put your darning needles on there. It's called the Maker's Keep by Coco Knits, and you can find it at just do a web search, a Google search on Coco Knits. Yeah, just Coco Knits, and I did it on magnetic knit wristband, and it came up. They're $20, and it's really nice. I have to say, I normally would park the needles in my mouth when I knit across a sweater, a cable knit sweater, like I'm doing right now, and I just put it in my mouth, wait till the next one, pop it out. But my mother-in-law was always saying, that's just so dangerous. I don't know how big she thinks these needles are, how incompetent she thinks I am with the needles, but I got this, and she's much happier for it. So that's just a little thing I can do to make her happy, which is a good thing. So another thing I got that is so much fun, I am learning how to spin my own wool. This is actually a top whorl spindle. Shoo, shoo, spin, spin, spin. I got some yarn, some roving, sorry, I'm still learning the words for everything. Got some roving, and my first attempt looks like this. Thick, thin, love the color, but not really knittable stuff. I could probably knit a hat out of this, but it would be a wonky looking hat. So that was my first attempt. My second attempt, so much better. Nice and thin. It's all single plied still. I haven't learned how to ply my yarns together. But really loving it. Still learning how to do it. I bought 5 old spinning magazines from 2009 and 2010, and from eBay. It's a magazine called Ply, P-L-Y, and I'm starting to take and read up on how to do all this stuff, because it's so different. I mean, the language and stuff is so different from what I'm used to from knitting, and I'm learning words like grist, which is like the thickness of the wool and stuff. It's very cool. I'm enjoying it a lot. So my next project I want to show you. This is a project I've just started on. This wool is called, let me get something real quick. Oh, this is the yarn. It is Ancient Arts Socknado base, and the colorway is called Bees. Bees. Purple violets, and the browns and the golds. And this is what it looks like caked up. These are the two together. You can see it's pretty similar. And what I'm making is a sweater for my goddaughter's daughter, Bridget Rose. This is how it's looking knit up. So it's kind of yellow, brown speckles, and it's got little tiny pops of lavender in occasionally. So just, it's so pretty, so pretty. I just love these muted colors and stuff. They're so gender neutral, but still so wonderful, you know. And I would love to dress her in pinks from top to bottom, but I know that not every mother wants their little girl to be dressed in pink. And gender neutral colors are okay with me, because they're colors that I normally love. So this is a Hoki Locatelli pattern. It is called Little Boxy, and you can find it on Ravelry.com. It's the little kids version of her Boxy. It's a wonderful sweater. It's basically just a big rectangle with narrower sleeves coming out so that it fits nice and loose, lots of drape. The sleeves they're form-fitting, so the sweater doesn't fall completely off you. It's a wonderful pattern. I think it's probably one of her most popular patterns. And it's what we call mindless knitting. You can just sit in front of the TV and just knit, because it's all stockinette stitch all the way across. Not a lot of thought goes into the rounds and stuff. So 10 inches of straight stockinette, I can watch TV and not look at my knitting and just knit away on it. So some yarns that I got. I went to Mendocino to escape the heat last time I was right before my last podcast. And while we were there, we went to a little yarn shop called the Mendocino Yarn Shop. Good enough name, right? Yeah, Mendocino Yarn Shop. And it's where it's located is when you're traveling down Highway 1, you'll see in Little River there is a golf course. And you go up into that golf course, and one of the buildings in that area is this little yarn shop. And it's just this little room, and it had all these great yarns. And I picked up these Queensland Collection Cassowary. It's an Australian fine wool blend. It's called Rainforest colorway. Oh man. 70% wool, 30% nylon. I'm gonna make a pair of socks for John out of this. Love it so much. Then this one's not too different. Another pair of socks for John. This is from the Earth, and that's URTH, Earth phonics or fun, Earth. This is all the browns and stuff. And this is just a number for the colorway. It's color 2023. Earth. Then, oh, this one. This is also by Earth. Love this. Makes me so happy. I love this. Yay. And this is color 404, I think. Yeah, 4004. Got 2 skeins of it because I loved it so much. Pretty sure one of these skeins is going to go into something for Bridget Rose. I'm not sure about the other skein. I want to make Bridget Rose some monster pants. I haven't made her a pair of those yet, and this would be really perfect for monster pants. So maybe a pair of monster pants and a hat for her or something like that. Just really neat yarns, and the ladies were so nice. I went in there and I was talking to them, and we had some friends in common, some indie dyers that we both know, and I came out and John goes, "You were in there for a half an hour." And I said, "Yeah, I know, I spent $100, but look what I got." And he's looking at me like, "Oh great, another $100 pair of socks." And I'm like, no, look, it's all of this stuff. It was really reasonably priced. And it's, they were so nice. I mean, we talked for like 20 minutes. He just shakes his head, because whenever I go into stores, I don't know what it is, but people tell me their life stories wherever I go. I can go into 7-Eleven and buy a soft drink, and by the time I come out, and we're just talking from the time I take my money, hand it to them, get the change back, I will know what college their kids are going to and little intimate details about their lives. There's something about me that people just say, oh, I'm going to talk to this woman like she's my priest. And I'm like, well, it's too much responsibility. I don't want this. But I do come out, and John's like, so, what's his story? And I'm like, oh, his wife of 40 years left him because he had too many cats at the house. I'm like, wow, okay. He just can't believe the stuff I come up with, but that's what it is. People tell me their stories. I've been working on my Joji Locatelli sweater, the Rhapsody in Cables. I'll show you the picture of it again. Let's see here. Challenge of finding a picture. Oh, here's one. There it is. Rhapsody in Cables. Normally when you make a cable sweater, the cables go vertical. She's having us knit this horizontally. So we're knitting this way. That's the cable there. And that it's just, the construction is just so cool. So I'm using that yarn that I got from Heidi at Wolfie Wool Fibers. She knit the yarn up for me. Look how much I got done so far. Isn't that incredible? Let's see. It goes like this over me. So this is the cable so far. Goes up. So beautiful. Oh my God. I'm gonna love this sweater so much. All the cables are mine. And it is in my new hat squirrel bag. Bees, because bees make me happy. It's a great size bag. Just got it. It's nice and big. This is holding 2 skeins of yarn and my sweater. Bright yellow top, really nice handle. A little pricey, but out of all the bags online, I just fell in love with that green and that yellow stripe, and it was the last one in her shop, and so it was kind of an impulse buy, but I deserved it because it's hot. That's what I say. If it's hot, I deserve it. All right, the last thing I have to show you, actually second to the last thing I have to show you, I'm working on the Farmer's Wife quilt. Farmer's Wife quilt, there's 6-inch blocks set on point. That's the whole quilt there. All of those are different. And it's all done using scraps. This is the book, The Farmer's Wife. It has a CD in the back. This is Lori Aaron Hurd. A CD in the back that has all of the blocks. So each of the blocks, it'll tell you here what blocks you use to make the pattern, and then you go on to the next page and what blocks you need. So you can print them all out on the computer. I printed all of mine out ahead of time, each one of them as an individual page, and put them in a spiral ring notebook. So when I need the block, I just flip to that page, get my wax paper, and trace the block out, cut it out, and use that as my stencil. Now, a tip I have, when you're making a scrap quilt, I don't know if you can see here the similarities between these blocks. In order to make these blocks all go together, it's important to find one fabric usually a medium colored fabric that you will use in every single block, even if it's just a little tiny piece in that little single block. This is the Klimt fabric, Gustav Klimt fabric that they came out with. It's kind of a shiny metallic. This is what I used for my medium. You can see it's in every single one of my blocks will have this color in it somewhere. Here it is here. Sometimes it'll act as my medium, sometimes it'll act as my dark. Now when you are making quilts, especially scrap quilts and stuff, or any art project, always look at the block, determine if there are not predetermined colors for you, look at the block, decide which are going to be your light, your medium, and your dark colors. And you want to look at what in your block is going to be big, medium, and small. So for instance, in this block, you've got big, you've got mediums, and you've got smalls. And you've got dark, medium, and light. Now, your small does not have to be light. It doesn't work like that. You just have to remember those three things when you're putting together a block in order for your block to be well balanced. And that goes for generally any art project you're doing as well. If you're doing a art project of a drawing of the mountains, for instance, look at your mountain range and the foreground before it, and try to find the dark, the medium, and the light in the picture, and then find the small, the medium, and the large of the picture. And those are the three things you have to focus on. You don't want to take and do a picture that has just one big large thing in the center of it, because it's going to look unfinished. You have to take and put something in medium, putting something, and this is really basic things for doing artwork. And of course there are people that totally go outside these boundaries and come up with some amazing stuff. But for the general people like me and you, small, medium, large, dark, medium, and light are the three things, the six things that you work with when you're working with unknowns, if you're coming up with your own color schemes and stuff. Oh, my last thing is my cookbook. This is my favorite cookbook. You can get it from the Spoiled Avocado in Fallbrook, California. Just look them up. They have a web page, and the cookbook is called The Cauldron. Cauldron was a restaurant in Fallbrook when I was a child, back in the 70s, well, late 60s, early 70s. And this cookbook is very tiny. It's all handwritten. This recipe here, cream of chicken and cheese soup, that was one of their biggies. That was one of their things that they were known for. And that recipe alone is worth the price of this cookbook. It also has enchilada recipes. When was the last time you had sauerkraut salad? Okay. So good. So good. I guarantee it. It's this cookbook is just lovely. And it's only, what, 64 pages long. And it was $15. Maybe a little pricey, but it is every recipe in it is just wonderful, and it has things from appetizers to desserts, so it just has a little of everything. So that is it for my podcast today. I hope to see you in a few weeks, and if you like what you see, hit subscribe and give me a thumbs up. I'll talk to you later. Bye.